Bonjour and good afternoon. Welcome to WASA Distance Education Center and PLAR Science. So today is May 1st already. So we're just moving along here. It's still week 3, so this is our second class for PLAR Science. Remember, all students are welcome to join the radio Zoom classes. Also, we're continuing the draws for students. So term 2B draws, we'll have 2 student draws again, one for students who earned a credit and one for students who submit work. So make sure that you're submitting your work so that your teacher can enter your name into the draw. So students working on more than one course will have their names entered for each subject that they submit work for. I'm not quite sure yet what the prizes are. Last term we had for a student who earned a credit, that person received a Dell laptop, and then for the student who submitted work, the student received a mini iPad. So we'll keep you up to date on what the prize will be, but for now you can continue to submit your work so your names will be entered. Students can still register for independent learning courses. Again, this is at any time during the school year. You have May and June for now because the deadline to submit your work is on or before June 13th. So IL students, if you do sign up, you will expect regular contacts by phone or email, or if you have Facebook, your teacher will contact you from there. So make sure that you do have a contact number that we can reach you. For us, you can contact us at the office at 1-800-667-3703. We do have a toll-free number, or that is the toll-free number. Make sure that you also email your teacher if you don't call them. My email is jmercer@nnec.on.ca. You can also use my work Facebook and message me through Messenger under J Mercer WASA. Office hours schedule, they are available from your DEC, or you can just call the office and find out, and you may also call me at home. Once you're ready to submit your work, or you're continuing to submit your work, there's still different options to do that. You can have your DEC fax it for you, scan, email it to studentwork@nnec.on.ca. Make sure that you CC the teacher so that we know that you have submitted work. You can still use your Notes app as well to scan, email your own work. You could also send a picture through Messenger. Again, that's the most popular one that I've been seeing this term. Or you can drop it off at our WASA office. There is an outdoor mailbox outside, but make sure you put your name on your work. Other support for you to complete your key questions: PLAR Science, PLAR History, Geography, PLAR Math, and PLAR English. We have under our profile on YouTube, you can watch the classes. Both Bonnie and I have a section where you could go on the playlist. For myself, I have the PLAR Science 2B. So this is where I am uploading the classes that we're doing for this term. If you're working ahead for PLAR Science, you can go to PLAR Science 1B playlist. So for example, right now we're working on lesson 2. So if you're working on lessons 3 to 5, then you can go to that playlist. If you're still working on your PLAR History or your PLAR Geography, you can watch the classes under those playlists as well. If you don't have access to internet or Wi-Fi, you can request a USB of classes. You just need a USB port to put that flash drive, and these classes can be viewed on your laptop, or if you have a television where you have a USB port in it, or an Xbox or PlayStation, you can watch the classes from there too. So how are the classes organized? So same thing or same format as on YouTube. It will tell you the component. In this case, it's PLAR Science. It'll give you the lesson number. So in this case, lesson 3. And then you should see the key questions. It will say key questions 53 to 58, or it might say key questions 36 to 41. So whichever key question you might be needing a bit more support, then you would go to that particular lesson and key question. As I mentioned, we're in week 3, so we are working on lesson 2 biology. We might be able to finish that this afternoon, and if we don't finish it this afternoon, then that means on week 4 we'll actually work on lesson 2 biology, and then we will start with lesson 3, which is chemistry. So we'll see how far we get with this afternoon's class. Remember, in each lesson there are support questions and key questions. So the support questions, you do not submit those. They're just for practice. It's the key questions that you need to submit. The culminating activity, so once you complete all 80 key questions, you are required to do the culminating activity. Your DEC or teacher will give you the culminating activity to complete. Then your equivalent credits are granted to students based on individual assessments. So this is what we have completed so far. So this is the teacher comments or marks to student. So if you have submitted any work, whether you submitted 1 question or 20 questions, you will get this back from your teacher. So we completed lesson 1 already. That means that all 26 key questions were done for lesson 1. For lesson 2, you should have key questions 27 to 28. So those are the 2 key questions that we did from our last class. You will also see this in your book. It will give you your topics and the key questions, whereas the student sheet for the mark sheet, you don't get the topics. Here you will. And again, it identifies the key questions. It gives you the weighting for each question, meaning, for example, for the cell theory, key question 28, that's worth 6 marks. Keep in mind, as we do this lesson, the learning goals, I can explain the role of the cell and its organelles. I can identify the differences between animal and plant cells. So we did pages 3 to 5, the cell, prokaryotic cells versus eukaryotic cells. We will continue with page 6, the parts of a cell. Pages 7 to 10, organelles and their functions. Page 10, differences between animal and plant cells. Page 12, the role of the cell membrane. Page 13, life processes. Okay, and we'll see if that's how far we get. If we get further, that's fine. There's also page 15, cell division and the cell cycle. Okay, so first off, let's do a little bit of review. So the word biology, so this is, as I said, lesson 2, we started on Monday, comes from the Greek word bios, and bios just means life, and logos means the study of. So when you put the 2 parts of the word together, biology means the study of living organisms. Okay, we also talked about the cell. So if you're following along, it's on page 3. Remember that the cell is the basic structural, functional, and biological unit of all known living organisms. Okay, it's often called the building blocks of life. That's where you start off. We also looked at the cell theory, which is a scientific theory that describes the function of cells and their properties. The main claims of cell theory are that all living organisms are made up of either one or more cells. Secondly, the cell is the basic unit of structure, okay, and organization in organisms. And finally, the third main claim of cell theory is that cells come from pre-existing cells through the process of cell division. So we looked at two terms here. Single cell, which means that organisms are made of only one cell. Okay, single, so one. And it's capable of metabolism and homeostasis. So examples: bacteria, paramecium, these are all single-celled organisms. Multicellular, this type of organisms are made up of many, many cells. Okay, when you look at the word multi or multi. Examples of multicellular organisms: humans, plants, and animals. So when you think of multicellular, we start off with one or more cells. In this case is more than one cell. Then you get tissues, which are a group of cells working together. And then you get organs, which are a group of tissues working together. For example, your stomach. Organ systems, group of organs working together. For example, your digestive system. Okay, so these are all very similar for humans and plants and animals. If you're not quite sure how to pronounce some of the terminology for the different organelles, you can go to www.howtopronounce.com. So if you type in eukaryotic, so if you go to that website, when you click on there, you will see this. So you can type in any word that you are wanting. If you're not sure how to pronounce a certain word. In this case, I typed in eukaryotic. It will give you the pronunciation. You will see this icon or this symbol. It shows you a sound symbol, and it will tell you how to say it. If you click on the synonyms, that means it'll give you words that means the same. Antonyms, it'll give you words that are opposite of that word. Okay, so that's just a link that you can use if you're not sure how to pronounce some of the terminologies for the different parts of the cell. So go to page 7. So remember, we were looking at the different organelles that's found in plant and or animal cells and their functions. So remember, these are all found in your lesson book. The first one is cell membrane. We said that controls what materials enter the cell and what materials leave the cell. Okay, they are in your book, they're referred to as proteins are the bouncers, so letting things in or kicking things out. Cytoplasm, these are everything inside of the cell membrane except for the nucleus. So it's a gel-like fluid or liquid mostly made of water. So you can see that if you're looking at the corner of the slide, you can see that gel-like fluid that's moving. It allows organelles, so the function, what does it do? It allows organelles to move around the inside of the cell. Also, the fluid helps regulate the cell's temperature. And this is found in both plant and animal cells. Nucleus, this controls all the cell's functions. So it acts like our brain that control every job that we do. Okay, it contains the genetic material, or what's known as DNA. So basically, DNA is the genetic instructions for building your body. For instance, DNA in humans will determine such things as what color the eyes are and how the lungs work. Okay, nucleolus. These makes ribosomes. And nucleolus just means little nucleus. It is like the human brain. The human brain is the organ that allows you to walk or talk, and it sends signals to different parts of your body. So the main function of the nucleolus is to make the small parts or subunits, which make up the ribosomes, the construction workers of the cell. Okay, next up are ribosomes. So this is where proteins are made in the cell. They are the tiny protein factories. These are found floating in the cytoplasm, or they're attached to the ER, which is the endoplasmic reticulum. Why does the cell need it? Well, ribosomes read the message encoded in the cell's DNA. Okay, so they translate these codes into proteins, hormones, and other structures. So without ribosomes, DNA would be useless. Just below that is the mitochondria. So if it's one, it's mitochondrion, and if it's plural, so more than one, is the mitochondria. This is the powerhouse of the cell, so it converts energy into useful energy for the cell. It's very important because it makes the cell work properly. They take in food and create energy that the cell needs. Animal cells that need more energy, for example, muscle cells, they have many more mitochondria. Then there's the endoplasmic reticulum and the ER, or endoplasmic reticulum. It has a rough and smooth parts. The rough ER produces proteins, and the smooth ER makes lipids and removes harmful substances from a cell. So it's like a road, so it's canals for movement. It is a collection of tubes that make package and transport proteins and fats. So you can see where it goes through the cell membrane here. You can see the ribosome. Okay, you can see the smooth endoplasmic reticulum right here in the corner, and then you can see the rough parts of the ER as well. Okay, lysosomes. This is the clean-up crew of the cell because it contains chemicals called enzymes, and it breaks down large food particles, trash, and even old organelles. This is found in the animal cells only. The cell needs it because the cell would become cluttered with food particles that are too big for the mitochondria, toxic trash, and dead organelles. Okay, so it can break down food and also kill pathogens. Okay, next is the Golgi apparatus, or bodies. So what is it? It's the post office of the cell. So the Golgi bodies receive proteins and other newly formed materials from the ER, package them, and distribute them to other parts of the cell. Why does the cell need it? Well, without it, many proteins would be incomplete or lost. Okay, next is the vacuole. Now the vacuole is the storage structure in a cell. It can hold food for later use or waste for removal. So the vacuoles in animals, they store waste. Vacuoles in plants, they store water. So if you look at your plant, you can tell if the vacuole is full. So you can see here on the left-hand side, that's a plant with the vacuole being full, meaning it's hydrated. And then if you look at the plant on the right hand side, the vacuole is empty, so you would need to water that plant. So remember, that's where the plants store water. It's in the vacuole. So two more terms. We have the cell wall and the chloroplast. So the cell wall first is usually found in the plant cell. They are not found in the animal cell. The cell wall surrounds the cell membrane and gives it support by adding a layer of protection for the plant cells. It's the outermost layer of plant, fungi, and bacteria cells. Again, it adds support for growth, made of tough cellulose. If you look at the picture on the left, okay, that's a bunch of celery. If you notice, trying to chew celery, it's crunchy because you're chewing into that cell wall, so it gives that support. Notice too that that's hard to digest, okay, because it's made of that tough cellulose. Chloroplast, this is found only in plant cells. It contains green chlorophyll. The function of it is photosynthesis, uses sunlight to make sugar for plant. Okay, so we just finished naming all the different organelles. So the differences between animal and plant cells, we just said that some of these cell parts can only be found in animal cells, some only in plant cells, and then some you could find in both. So plant cells and animal cells are not exactly alike. Plant cells have certain parts that animal cells do not. So these are cell wall and chloroplast. So we said earlier, the cell wall surrounds the cell membrane of a plant. So the cell wall is made of non-living material called cellulose. So the cell wall is more rigid or stiff than the cell membrane, and this gives a plant cell its stiffness and its shape. Okay, chloroplasts, these are found in the cytoplasm of a plant cell. The chloroplasts contain a green substance called chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is needed by green plants for making food. So the food making process of green plants is called photosynthesis. Most chlorophyll can be found in leaf cells of green plants. Plants can make their own food. Okay, that's something that animals cannot do because animal cells do not contain chlorophyll. Another important thing to note is that the number and size of vacuoles also is different in plant and animal cells. So both plant cells and animal cells have vacuoles, but the vacuoles are different. Plant cells have only 1 or 2 vacuoles. The vacuoles are usually very large. Animal cells have many small vacuoles. So you can see the difference if you're looking at the diagram of the differences between a plant cell and an animal cell. Okay, next is the role of the cell membrane. So substances must be able to get into and out of a cell in order for the cell to do its job. So the passing through of these materials, or the passage of these materials, takes place through the cell membrane. The cell membrane has tiny holes. If you think of a sponge, you see little tiny holes. So some substances pass through these holes by a process called diffusion. You can see before diffusion, and then after diffusion. So it's showing you there how after diffusion, how much of these things have passed through. Okay, the other term that you see on that page is what's called osmosis. And osmosis means the movement of water through a membrane. So this is a special kind of diffusion. So if you think about it, what might happen if the amount of water entering and leaving the cell were not controlled? So remember we talked about the vacuole. If you have a plant, okay, that has no water in it, then you know that there's no water in the vacuole. So that plant or that vacuole shrinks. And then if you have a vacuole that has lots of water, that might burst. So it might burst or swell. Okay, so let's try key questions 31 to 33. Actually, we didn't do key questions 29 to 30. So from our last class on Monday, we did 27 and 28. So 29, what does unicellular mean? So we just did that as a review. So you have to first say what unicellular means. Let's spell unicellular properly first. Okay, unicellular means, and then this is the next part. Give at least one example. So first you tell me what it means, then one example. So you would do the same thing for key question 30. What does multicellular mean? So multicellular means, and then two examples are okay, so pretty straightforward. That's all in your book. So all you have to do is read page 3. Okay, the next key question. This one you're not telling me the definition, you're just telling me the role or the function on each of the following organelles. So for example, the first one says vacuole. On the right hand side, function, what it does for the cell. Okay, so I won't do them all, but I'll give you an example here. Vacuole, so the function, often, okay, they often store food. Okay, enzymes. Okay, and other materials. Okay, needed by the cell. So you would do that for each of the organelles. So a key thing here is the function. What does it do? Just a quick explanation here. You will see it says here Golgi bodies. Okay, in your book it also says Golgi apparatus is the same. That's the same thing. Okay, one student mentioned that to me, and I just noticed that it does just say Golgi apparatus. It doesn't say bodies. And that can be found on page 9. Okay, key question 32. It says identify and describe 2 parts of the cell that only plant cells possess. So that just means there are 2 parts that can only be found in plant cells. So you have to identify and describe. So you tell me what they are. We just did it. So the first one is the cell wall. So you tell me what a cell wall is. And then the second one is chloroplasts. And you just tell me what that is. Key question 33. What substance is found inside the chloroplast? Okay, the substance found. So you tell me what it is. And it is responsible for, that means what does it do? And then you just complete that. Okay, let's go to our next topic. So we did key questions. Okay, we did key questions 29 to 33 so far. So next up are the 7 life processes. So we have move, reproduce, sensitive, nutrition, excrete, respire, and grow. So organisms must carry on certain processes so that we can stay alive, or all organisms, in order for them to stay alive, they have to do what's called life processes. The life processes also are characteristics of all living things. Okay, so they have to be living in order to possess these. So move, reproduce, sensitivity, nutrition, excretion, respiration, and growth. So we'll look at each type. First one is nutrition. That's taking in and using food. So ingestion is taking in of food. Because an animal cannot make its own food, that means they have to take in food and water from the outside. Plants are different. We said that earlier, because they do not take in their food from the outside because they can make their own food. However, plants take in some important materials such as water from the soil. The other part of nutrition is digestion, where it breaks down food into a form that can be used. So both plants and animals must digest their food. Plants and animals make special chemicals that change food into usable form. In many animals, digestion takes place mainly in the stomach and small intestine, where in plants, digestion takes place where the food is made, and that's in the leaves. So for animals, animals feed on other living things, fungi and bacteria, feed on dead plants and animals. Okay, the next one is respiration. That means getting energy from food. So respiration is the release of energy by combining oxygen with digested foods. During respiration, oxygen is used to break food apart. This process produces energy. So you have water and carbon dioxide. These are being produced. They are the waste products of respiration. So for animals, animals take in oxygen from the air or water. Plants, yes, plants breathe using photosynthesis. Larger multicellular land animals, such as birds and mammals, have to breathe in oxygen from the surrounding air, which travels to the lungs and is transferred into the blood. So the vascular system carries this fresh oxygen to all the tissues and cells of the body where it's used for respiration. So you can see a picture there, he's breathing in, you can see his lungs are expanding, and then he breathes out. Okay, excretion. That just means you're getting rid of waste. So excretion is getting rid of waste products. Your body makes many waste products, and these waste products must be removed from the body. Animals excrete harmful substances such as carbon dioxide, sweat, and urine. Plants and animals both need to get rid of waste gas and water. Okay, so living things must excrete. Movement. All living things move, even plants. So movement is one of the easier ways to spot a living thing. Although in some types of organism, it's easier to see than in others. All living things have the ability to move in some way without outside help, but there are lots of different ways to move, and sometimes those movements can be very small. Why is it important that all living things move? Well, a living organism will have to move to find food or reproduce. So it's easiest to observe movement in animals, which look for food and shelter and try to escape from danger. You can see locomotion is a change in position by a living thing. Plants move. So if you think about this one, plants grow from tiny seeds, but we think about plants as not moving, but they are. They're growing, they're moving. Plants grow upward, down into the soil and outwards. Think of trees. They might not be moving, but their branches change position. Okay, sensitivity. And sensitivity just means detecting changes in the surroundings. So all living things are able to detect and respond to the conditions around them. This is extremely important for staying alive. After all, if you can't find food or notice a predator, you're not going to survive for very long. Animals rely on a wide range of sensory organs, although there are 5 key senses that most of us use, like sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. It's much harder to see in plants, but they too are able to sense their environment. As I mentioned before, plants can detect and grow upwards towards sunlight, sometimes even contorting themselves into bizarre shapes to optimize the light they take in. Okay, I've seen my plants do that. They try to get close to the window as possible. Okay, so sometimes they have to turn them around. Root structures are able to detect water and grow towards it. So you could see on the right hand side of the screen, that's a plant, and notice the sensitivity. Okay, it's trying to eat that object that's flying near it. Okay, so just remember, sensitivity means the ability to detect or sense changes in the environment. So it could be a stimuli, it could be, in that case for that plant, that one is a plant eating, can't remember its name, but it's, say a fly goes past it, it will detect it, which is a stimulus, and then it will snap and eat it. If you touch a beehive, or if you try to get rid of it, okay, the bees will sense it. So again, that's the stimulus or stimuli in the environment, and they will either probably chase you or get away from you. Okay, growth. All living things grow. So humans grow and develop in the patterns determined by the DNA. Growth occurs because cells grow larger or because cells increase in numbers. So in higher life forms like humans, as the cells multiply, they also change or differentiate. For example, some cells become skin cells, others become bone, muscle, or other specialized cells. Plants also don't stop growing. If they've got enough food, then they usually keep growing their whole lives. Most plants develop from seeds or tubers and have to develop rapidly to be able to survive. A special kind of growth heals injuries. So shrubs and trees mend injuries by covering them with bark and adding new layers of wood. Crabs grow new legs when old ones are lost. Human beings can heal cut skin and mend broken bones. Okay, so growth is another characteristic of a life process. And then we have reproduction, making more living things of the same type. So all living things are able to reproduce and make more of their species, although they do this in many different ways. Methods for reproduction fall into two main categories. One is known as asexual reproduction, which an individual organism can do on its own, and sexual reproduction, which requires a partner. So common methods of reproduction for animals include giving birth, laying eggs, asexual reproduction, so hydro jellyfish sprout babies like buds growing from their parents' body. Common methods of reproduction for plants include seeds, spores, asexual reproduction, which include tubers, rhizomes, and runners. So you can see on the left-hand side for plants, reproduce using seeds or spores. Reproduction for animals, here's one, laying eggs that hatch outside the body like chickens, ducks, or snakes. Or in this case, it's a picture of a dog giving birth to live young, so eggs develop inside the mother's body. Okay, we can do key question 34. So remember, when you're doing key question 34, this one is your opinion. So what do you think? So what do you think would happen if waste products built up in the body? So it says excretion removes waste products from the body. So what do you think if you can't do that, if you can't remove waste products that's built up in the body? So make sure you read the life processes and then answer that question. And remember, when you're answering it, you would have to say, I think. Okay, because I'm asking you, what do you think? Okay, key question 35. So this one shows you a chart, and what you need to do here is you need to identify and give a brief description of the 7 life processes. So you have to look at the picture. So that doesn't mean that you just read your lesson notes and you write down all the different life processes. What you have to do is look at the picture first. So the first image shows this person breathing in and out. Okay, I'll just go over the pictures for now. The second one shows a picture of different types of food. Okay, the next picture. Okay, this is actually a person moving. Okay, whether they're walking or running. Looks like they're running more, because notice the distance of the between the front leg and the back leg, so walking or running. Okay, and then the next one shows babies, and then the last one gives you a hint because it shows you different organs, and then right at the bottom there, that word is urine. Okay, so when you do this key question, so let's take the second one, for example, food. So the life process will be nutrition, and then give a brief description. So if you write in nutrition, okay, taking in of food. Okay, very brief, but it explains that image. Urine, so we know that process is excretion, which means getting rid of waste products. Okay, let's just number this. So first one is the girl breathing in and out. Second one is food. Third is moving, walking or running. Fourth, and then fifth. So the fourth one, that's babies. So we can either put in reproduction, number 3 is movement, and number 1 is respiration. So again, just very brief description of what each of these life processes are. So for respiration, say this process produces energy, for reproduction, living things reproduce, and so on. Okay, so we're going to stop here. So what you're going to do is we have as far as key question 35. So if we look at how many more key questions we have left, so we did as far as 35. When we come back on Monday, we will look at cell division, meiosis, interphase, mitosis, and cytokinesis. These are the last topics that we will look at. Or if we go to our sheet here, the pages, yeah, we will do page 15, cell division, mitosis, page 15, the cell cycle, so we will look at the reasons for cell division. Then page 16 is the process of cell division, and finally page 17, the phases of mitosis, and then that would be the end of lesson 2. So what will happen is on Monday we will do lesson 2 and then start with lesson 3, chemistry. Okay, so that's it for this afternoon. Have a good weekend. Miigwech.